Hi, everyone. This is Kirsten with Pointe Publishing, and this afternoon we are going to talk with Jim Carlson. He is one of our newest authors, and we're going to do his intro interview. And if you've been watching any of our other videos, you know that we have a scripted reality TV show over here. He has picked out all the questions, so he already knows all the answers. So that's pretty cool. All right, Jim, would you like to say hi to everyone in YouTube world?
Hello, YouTube world. I'm Jim Carlson.
Well, there you go. Good job. All right. Okay, so we're going to start right off with his first question. What is the story behind your book? First of all, what's the title? And then give us the whole story.
Yeah, so the title of my book is Reagan Slays the Dragon, and it was inspired by my spunky niece, and I bet you can guess what her name is. Anyway, Reagan has always had this sense of just independence, and she just got a spunky spirit and determination to kind of do things her own way. And so the title Reagan Slays the Dragon had popped into my head as just a cute little rhyme a few years ago, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And I kind of started writing a story about it that, I jotted a few sentences down and kind of sat on it for a long time. And then last winter was one of those, I think a January Sunday, it was snowing outside. We were just hanging out at home. I just started writing and got a first couple sentences done and kind of liked the direction I was headed. So I just kept writing, and before I knew it, I had an entire story.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah, all of a sudden you're like, well, look at this. Now what? All right. Well, let's see your next one. What do you read for pleasure? Any dragons involved? How did you come up with that?
Occasionally. So I revisited The Hobbit after I wrote this story. I'm like, wow, this reminds me a lot of The Hobbit, where a dragon plays a key role in that story. So I enjoy, things like J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and all that. I was recently on a big classics kick, and over the last few years, dove into a couple of real short stories like Les Miserables and Moby Dick, Three Musketeers. Read The Count of Monte Cristo last year, last year. That was a long book, that one. I think I started reading that right after our baby was born, and when you're interrupted a lot with baby stuff, it takes longer to finish a book. So that one took a little while. Mm-hmm. Also, I like reading science fiction books. In the last few years, I've read a couple of the Ender's Game books by Orson Scott Card. Neil Stephenson is a real interesting author. He's got a book called Seven Eves that I really enjoyed. Read a couple of his other books. And then I also enjoy kind of like historical stuff. Eric Larson wrote The Devil in the White City. I've read a couple of his other books, and those are just really interesting. He kind of tells a story from history, but kind of adds some color and detail that you wouldn't normally get in just a straight history book. So it's a fun way to learn without being bored like I was back in school.
Exactly. All right. Who is your favorite writer, and what is it about them and their stories that appeals to you?
Yeah, so one of my favorite writers is Ian McEwan. I don't know what exactly he would categorize himself as, but he's a novelist, and I read a story from him back in college. Atonement was the name of the book, and that was a book that I had to read for a class in college, and I just really enjoyed the way he describes things, and the vocabulary he uses is just very different from anything I use, and the way I think and write and everything. So I've just found that fascinating. He also has a really interesting way of like putting you in his characters' minds and just describing what they're sensing or thinking, and then he always has this weird or interesting like twist that you don't expect. I've read several of his books and been going through just thinking, okay, this is a fun book, I like it, and then at the end he just kind of to use a baseball metaphor, he doesn't throw a curveball at you, he throws a watermelon.
Oh,
just completely unexpected.
Okay. Does he use any of those, and I don't know, does he use any of those watermelons as a segue into then what the next book is? Does he do series, or does he do all standalones?
Most of his books are standalone.
Okay.
But like the one, Atonement's just got an interesting perspective told by a young girl who kind of misinterprets a scene she sees play out kind of in the courtyard at her house, and has massive ramifications in other people's lives because she falsely accuses somebody of something. She just doesn't understand the situation.
Right.
Another of his books features a kind of like cyborg type science fiction thing set in the 80s. And another one he wrote from the perspective of an unborn child in its mother's womb, as the mom and a relative are doing some stuff. So interesting.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that, especially the way you describe that. He describes things and uses words that not normally. So that actually intrigues me. I'll have to get that. All right. A little bit about yourself, I suppose. Who are you and who you went to school and your family and all that.
Yeah, so I am the middle child in between two sisters. So I grew up in a house full of girls and women, which was a good experience. And I grew up in Eagan, Minnesota, lived here pretty much all my life. Went to college at the University of Minnesota Morris. And I started out studying math and physics when I was first there, and that promptly kicked my butt. So I transitioned to finance, economics, and English. I was tempted to do a full English major, but just didn't feel confident at the time that would have the career opportunities or whatever I thought I wanted. So I just minored in English, which I think was a good thing for me. It just kind of helped balance out, some of the math and finance stuff I was doing and kind of engage a different part of my brain, which I enjoyed. After college, I've worked for the state of Minnesota in a variety of roles. I spent a number of years at the Department of Revenue as a tax auditor. The last about 3 years, I've been at the legislature in a nonpartisan office, helping just analyze bills and come up with estimates on what kind of impact that would have to the state budget. My wife and I got married in 2020, so we had a COVID wedding. We had gotten engaged in January of that year and had just started to plan a wedding in kind of the end of summer, and had a venue picked out, and then COVID happened, and we ended up having a backyard wedding, which you can see pictures of behind me, which was great. I highly recommend it if anybody's considering getting married. It saves you a lot of money. So backyard weddings are great. And we just had our first daughter last July. So she just turned 10 months old and is an absolute delight. And so we're hoping maybe some more, but right now it's been a fun adventure the first 10 months. So.
Oh yeah, definitely an adventure. Do you think she'll be as spunky as her cousin Reagan? They can go out and slay dragons together?
I think it's a possibility. She certainly has a voice. I mean, she's a pretty even-keeled baby, and I think we're pretty blessed. She sleeps well. She's not too fussy about anything, but when she's just happy, she'll just out of nowhere just yell, just at the top of her lungs, just yell. So there might be a little spunk in there.
Okay. Well, if anything, it'll rouse the dragon, then Reagan can go and and finish the job. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I do. I've found I really enjoy working with my hands. I've kind of been doing some woodworking for the last few years. This last fall, I built a kitchen table for our family to eat dinner at, which has been fun. I've also done some cribbage boards and a desk. I tried my hand at a chair. That wasn't my best effort. Chairs are a little challenging, but anything with my hands I enjoy pretty much. I've also been in martial arts for a long time. I've done Taekwondo for a number of years, and the last few years I've been training mostly jiu-jitsu, which is sort of like a wrestling, grappling martial art. So that's kind of what I spend my free time doing.
Okay, well, very cool. All right, describe your desk.
My desk. So I actually built my desk.
Okay.
Built that a few years ago. It's nothing fancy. It's just some pine wood and a sheet of plywood sitting on top. So it's pretty basic. It's got a little bit of paint on it just to dress it up a little bit. But I've got my computer on it and monitor, my planner, and then a couple little knickknacks. I've got some little 3D printed cars. I'm really into cars too. So
Okay.
I've got a couple little cars on there, a little frog figurine, a little Lego race car I've had since I was probably 5 maybe. And then a Lego truck I built at a car show is one of those, activities for kids. But I saw, people walking around with these little Lego pickup trucks. So I insist, as a full grown adult, like I need one of those. So I went through and you got to assemble one and that sits on my desk.
Do you have any of those within reaching that you can show us?
I do not. I'm not at my desk.
Oh, all right. Do you think when, now I know that you are thinking about other books in the future. Do you think that you'll get little, what are they called? Tchotchkes, some kind of little things that you can put on your desk for other, I'm forgetting the word, inspiration for writing? Or, I mean, how do you derive your inspiration? I mean, it just comes to you in a dream, or do you just see different things? Or
I think I just see different things maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it just starts with little ideas that, the book Reagan Slays a Dragon was just a simple rhyme that I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. For a number of years, I was involved with Toastmasters International and competed in a handful of speech competitions, and I enjoyed writing humorous speeches. So, I'll sometimes just get little things that just kind of intrigue me and like, oh, I could turn that into a joke. Like how one of my humorous jokes was about pigeons and their droppings and how, you can consider them data points and avoid where statistically the data is most likely to end up. And so I just think on little things like that and just start jotting notes, and I don't know, my brain goes random places sometimes. So
Okay. Well, I will add to that. I was part of Toastmasters myself, and remember way back when you do your intro speech, which is all about you, and that you have 5 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is. The humor in me, I walked in there with manila envelope with like half a ream of paper, I mean, whatever. And so I got up at the podium and they're all sitting there. I'm like, okay, so this is supposed to be about me. So back in May of, and I pulled out like, 250 pieces of paper and I went thunk, on the podium, and everyone just got this look on their face like, oh, I don't think she's going to do this right. And I said, so back in May of 1968, and I'm like, oh, I'm just kidding. Anyway, everyone's like, phew. Anyway, so yeah, I was always the humorous one in the party too.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Oh, and then there's one other question I always throw on someone, and you didn't have this, so I'm going to throw this on you. Okay. If you could have a dinner party, either still with us or dearly departed, who would you have? Like, 4 people, other people or so, and what kind of conversation and why would you invite them and that kind of thing?
So 4 people that I'm inviting?
Sure, 4 or 5 people.
Well, I think being the car nerd that I am, there are a couple of, I guess, automotive heroes that I would want to invite. First would be Christian von Koenigsegg. He is the owner.
I know who that is. Huh? Oh, yeah.
Familiar?
Oh, very much so. Beautiful cars.
Just amazing cars and just fascinating technology. He just seems like a real personable guy, and just, he loves talking about the different technology and solutions and stuff they come up with. So similar vein would be Horacio Pagani. Pagani is an Italian supercar manufacturer that build very high-end cars similar to the Koenigsegg's. And he's sort of a Renaissance man, very into art and sculpture and everything. So his cars are, very highly engineered, just like the Koenigsegg, but just, more on the artful side. And I suppose if it can include deceased, then maybe like Enzo Ferrari. Ferrari would be pretty cool. So I'd do a car themed dinner party, I think.
That would be some definitely some interesting discussions, and I would imagine it would do like a ebb and flow. I mean, of complimenting, and then it would go. It would probably end with, everyone getting in their car and driving up and down the street as fast as possible, and how many, finish the conversation on the track, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Some friendly competition.
So, all right, anything else you want to say to everyone out in YouTube world, which is also going to be seen on Facebook land and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn?
No, I mean, this is my first book. I'm excited to see the end result. It should be released early in 2023 sometime. So
Yep.
looking forward to that. And I guess my hope with the book is that it just inspires little kids, I mean, girls especially, to just take on challenges and overcome obstacles, and don't listen to the naysayers in life, because there's going to be plenty of those, whatever you do. So
Yep.
my hope is it's just a little bit of encouragement to kids when they're little to do something big.
All right. Well, we are done with all of our questions, and even our surprise question we threw on him. So his book should be out here spring of 2023. And in the next few weeks, we've got a couple other new authors that I'm going to have them on the hot seat and answering questions about their lives, but they already know the answers because, well, they picked out the questions. So thank you so much for joining us. And you can find Jim at foxpointpublishing.com/author-Jim-Carlson. Or actually just look under professionals and you'll see his happy smiley face, and you can click on that and you can go to all of his information. And then, of course, over the course of 2022 and into 23, I'll be adding to that webpage as his book progresses. So, all right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will chat with you later. Bye.